Hello and welcome to all my nephew and nieces and my fellow limit breakers. This is Uncle Wick, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you a powerful structure that you can start using in your life, how to access the flow state and stay focused. And it's something I have used almost every day since the very first day that I started Limit Break Lifestyle, my business with my business partner Jono. Because back in those days I was working 9 to 5 and I would come home really tired, but I needed to build my business on the side. So with the very limited amount of time every evening, what do I focus on creating? What do I focus on working? And how do I create a side hustle on a business while working 9 to 5? So this is perfect for those of you who are starting out as an entrepreneur, but you just don't know how to begin, what to focus on, how to stay productive, how to get away from distraction. But this video is also going to be powerful for those of you, maybe you have a creative block. Maybe you are a writer, a singer, songwriter. Maybe you're a choreographer or someone who is in the creative industry. Or maybe you're just trying to create something and you need to stay in that creativity, that state. How do you stay in that flow state? How do you not get stuck? How do you prevent yourself from getting writer's block, etc.? How can you have clarity in life and stay focused on the task at hand and not be distracted? So this video is perfect for you if you are going through any of these struggle or challenges right now. Okay, so the topic of today's episode of this video is called how to get into the flow state and stay focused. And what I'm going to be sharing with you today is 3 important principles, okay? 3 very important premises and principles that you will learn, and then a very practical way of creating a structure that works for you in life on a day-to-day basis. And let's go ahead and share with you the first principle, okay? So in order to be in a flow state, you imagine a river, right? Imagine a river flowing. Well, when you pour water, or when you see rivers or waterfall, whenever you see water flowing, there has to be a destination, because the energy has to move somewhere. It has to go somewhere, and it has a end result and destination where it's trying to get to. And so the very first thing, if you want to stop existing in life, if you want to start creating what you love, and you want to live life full of fulfillment, purpose, and creating something that is valuable to you, you need to know what you want. You need to know the thing that you are creating. So you need to have a destination for you to direct that energy towards, right? So you need to have clarity. If I was to ask you right now, what do you want? Or what would you love to create? What would your answer be? Right? Because all creative have something, and they have an end in mind. Right? If I'm a writer, for example, if I'm an author, I know what the end result is going to be. It's a book. It's a book about a particular story or lesson, whatever it is, right? The book has a theme. I want to get that book out by writing it. So I'm creating a book. That's the end result. If I'm a singer-songwriter, the song with the lyrics, with the meaningful message behind the song, with the melody, that would be the end result. If I'm creating a business, the business would be the end result, right? Or if I'm a project manager, if I'm working on a project, well, the result of the project would be the end result. So no matter what it is, in personal development, some people call it goal setting, whatever. You need to know what your vision is. You need to have a vision, a clear vision of what is the end result you want to create in life. That can be business, that could be creative activity, that could be a relationship, it could be anything. But there has to be some sort of a result, an end result you're directing your energy towards. Okay? So that's the first thing. having clarity of the end result, because without that, you can't focus. You won't know what to focus on, because the focus needs to be on the end result. Are you with me? So that should be the first thing you write down. That should be the very first thing you try to get clarity on. Now, once you know what it is you want to create in life, and you know what the result is, the goal you're trying to create, and the destination you're trying to end up in, okay? Once you have clarity in what that is, we move to the second thing, the second principle. And that is understanding that everything in life is structure. So that's the second principle, the second premise. Everything in life is structure. What do I mean by that? I'm going to introduce the first book to you, okay? There is this book called The Path of Least Resistance, subtitled Learning to Become the Creative Force in Your Own Life by Robert Fritz. Now, this book is one of my favorite books because it actually talks about structure. It talks about how human beings have an innate, an innate inclination towards the path of least resistance. So, for example, if you were given two options, two paths to walk, every human being will take the path of least resistance. As simple as that. Sometimes it's easier to stay in bed than to wake up and go to the gym. That's the path of least resistance, right? Sometimes, as a young man who's shy and you want to go up and talk to that girl that you fancy, it's easier to do so when you have a little bit of alcohol, because that's the path of least resistance. So I want you to understand that in life, human beings, from a psychological point of view, we are always heading towards the path of least resistance, whether you like it or not. We want to take the easy path. That is why discipline is so hard. Nobody likes the word discipline. But with discipline comes freedom, for that very reason. Because sometimes in life, the path of least resistance isn't the path that is going to give you the best result. Imagine water running down a certain path. Where is that water going to go? Well, it's always going to go in the path with least resistance, the smoothest path for it to flow. Even though sometimes that path might end up in a dam and it gets stuck there, right? And that's life. So in life, you have to understand, how can you create for yourself a structure that allows you to direct your energy towards the path of least resistance, but it is going towards your end result. How do you do that? That's the first thing you have to understand. Okay, and so in order to understand how you do that, you have to know what is structure and what kinds of structure there are. There are only three structures in life. Number one, you're either in a stuck structure, which means you're stuck, like water stuck in a well or in a dam in a bowl. It's not flowing, it's not moving, it's stagnated. How many of you feel stuck in life or have ever felt stuck in life? That's your energy being stuck and stagnated because of a stuck structure. How and where, and the question you have to ask is, so why? Why and how are we stuck? Well, a stuck structure, from a psychological point of view, is understanding that you are only stuck when there is resistance. Meaning you want to go one step forward, but something is holding you back. And usually that's an internal resistance. It's always usually internal resistance. Let me give you an example. Let's just imagine that, let's just say I want to lose weight. But whatever reason, I don't believe I can. Because of genetics, because of my body structure, because of my lifestyle, because of where I am, because of the food I'm eating, or whatever it is. I don't believe, in my mind, I'm not allowing myself to believe that I can lose weight. Okay, I'm just using weight as an example because it will paint the picture better. But there are many examples I can give you. What I'm trying to paint the picture here is that because I don't believe I can lose weight, I don't even try. So therefore, the result doesn't change. I'm stuck. Let me give you another example. Maybe I really want to ask this girl out on a nice date, but for whatever reason, out of fear, I don't believe I am on her league. My self-esteem, my confidence is not up there. It's just way down here, and I think she's out of my league. I don't think she's going to say yes. She's not going to give me a chance anyway. So what do? I don't do anything. I don't ask her out. I don't even have the courage to go and get rejected. Now, am I right or am I wrong? I don't know, right? Maybe I'm right. But do you understand what I'm trying to say? Just because maybe I am right, 99% of the time, if I go and ask her out, she's going to say no anyway, and I already know that. However, the fact that because I don't believe I even have 1% chance of succeeding, I don't even bother. So as the saying goes, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. If you don't take action, the result will always be the same. You don't even try. That's what a stuck structure does to you. A stuck structure stops you from even taking action. And whether you believe it or not is irrelevant. The point I'm trying to make here is because you don't take action, you don't move your energy, it stays stuck. That is a stuck structure. What about a second structure then? Well, the second structure is what we call an oscillating structure. All right? Have any of you ever felt that you took 2 steps forward, you made some progress, but then for some whatever reason you take 3 steps back and you feel like, oh my God, you're back in square one again? That's what we call an oscillating structure. What is oscillating structure created by? What's the reason for it? Well, oscillating structure is created from what we call negative vision, which means you are actually going for something that is not the end result you're aiming for. How does that happen? Well, let me give you an example. Let's just say I want to become financially free. Let's just say I want freedom, right? I want to be free so that I can do what I love. I want to be free so I can travel around the world. But in order to do that, let's be real, I need money. And so if I was financially free, meaning if I don't have to work anymore and I have money, passive income coming to me every day, every month, I don't need to work, then I can spend all that time doing what I love, right? And so what I end up doing is my goal is about creating passive income. My goal is becoming financially free. And here I am believing that I need to be financially free first before I can do what I love, before I can travel the world, before I can do whatever my purpose and calling is. You see what happened there? My true end result, my vision, my true goal has been sabotaged because my ego believed that I need to fulfill the circumstances first. Now, I'm just using that as one example. I could give you another example. Let's just say, going back to the dating example, right? If I say, okay, I want to ask this lady out, but however, I need to make sure I get a good job first. I need to make sure I buy some nice clothes first. I need to work on my self-esteem and my confidence. So I'm going to do some public speaking. I need to do all of this before I feel like I'm on her league, before I can ask her out. You see what I did there again? I made it about my circumstance rather than what I really wanted, which is to go out with her or ask her out at least. Where actually the real action that needed to be taken here is just go and ask her out. And if she say no, she say no. So what you have to understand is oscillating structure only happens when you are distracted by a completely different end result, which is about fulfilling your circumstances rather than what is true to you. That's what we call a negative vision. It's a false vision. You know you need to go north, but you ended up going west and take a detour instead. That's the problem. So that's why you feel like you're going 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, and you're not getting anywhere closer towards your end result. So what's the third structure? The third structure is exactly what we want in life, and it's called the flow structure, which means everything's just flowing. It's just moving smoothly. Everything feels like it's perfect timing to you. Everything is synchronized. It feels divine. Everything feels like it's going your way. Opportunities come and the doors are opening left, right, and center. And everything in life just feels so easy and smooth for you. That is when you know you are in the flow state of being, when you're in a flow structure. And a flow structure can only happen when you are focused on, again, going back to principle number 1, knowing what your true vision is. Flow structure only happens when you are going towards what you love and you're just going for it, because that's the only way you're going, right? Now, you might twist and turn, but you're going towards that direction. That's the most important thing. So now you understand what structure is. The third principle I want to share with you that's going to help you access the flow structure and the flow state of being so that you can stay focused on your end result is what we call change. Now, I'm not sure if you heard the saying before, but nothing in this world stays the same. There's only one constant in this world, and that is change. That's the only thing you're guaranteed. There's one guaranteed in this world, and that is change. What is change? Change is the natural default rhythm of nature. It's what season is. Spring doesn't stay in spring all day long. After 3 months, it will move to summer. After another 3 months, it will transition over to autumn. After another 3 months, it transitions over to winter. And then we come back in full circle again, and we have spring. Life is the same. We have ups and we have downs. Sometimes we feel lucky. This year might be your lucky year, and the next year might be your unlucky year, right? Life changes. And the reason why life changes is because that's the natural law of the universe. So I'm going to introduce to you the second book, the Kybalion, the Hermetic Philosophy. And in this Hermetic philosophy, it teaches you about the 7 Hermetic principle, but I'm only going to share the 5th one with you, which is the principle of rhythm. Okay, that is the law. So I'm going to read out what the principle of rhythm is, and I'm going to explain to you what it is. The principle of rhythm: everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. From the Kybalion. What does that mean? It means that life, everything is energy. And if you learn this in science, basic science, I'm talking about high school science, right? You will know that everything in life is energy. But energy doesn't disappear. Energy simply transforms from one state to another. Okay? So, if you use electronic devices, you're turning that electrical energy into heat. That's why your laptop will heat up, your computer heats up, right? When you use heat energy to boil ice, think about it, and it starts boiling and it turns to water and then it turns to gas, you're turning what we call potential energy into kinetic energy, moving particles, motion. So energy changes. It changes from one form to another, but it never disappears. It just manifests into a different state of being. And that is the nature of our universe. And if you understand that your energy, your personal energy, has a rhythm, it flows and it changes type all the time. It changes its form all the time. If you understand this and you know how to manipulate and master your energy, then you will be able to access flow state at will. Okay? Because what the Kybalion really is talking about the rhythm of nature, is about energy. That's the thing that's changing. The thing that is changing is energy. Your energy, your personal energy is changing all the time. So you need to understand energy. So I'm going to introduce the third book to you, called I Ching, a Chinese book of, it's called the I Ching or the Book of Changes. Okay. Now, it's a fat book. This book is actually a book of divination. Ancient Chinese, this is as old as thousands of years old, right? Back in Confucius days. And basically the ancient Chinese people understood how to use energy. It's a science for them. They understand this as a science for them. And so divination, which means fortune telling, they use energy to do divination, to tell your fortune by reading your energy, by reading your astrological energy and then your environmental energy and your personal energy. Now, we're not going to be talking about the fortune telling here today, but if you will really want to understand more about this book and how energy really is act, then I can record another video for you next on my YouTube channel. But just to explain to you and give you the basic understanding of energy and how it changes, I'm going to be sharing with you a presentation. So here you will see some slides. Chinese people, the ancient Chinese people, believe that energy has 5 states, 5 natural states. And you see this in astrology, you see this in Chinese medicine, you see this in martial art, you see this in all kinds of mythology as well. And I'm going to start with the energy of wood. The energy of wood. Because the energy of wood represents spring. Wood energy, from what the Chinese people understand, is what represents creativity, growth. Right? It's the energy of growth. It's the energy of creation. It's the energy of adding value. It's spring energy. It's the energy of what? So, have you ever came up with a brand new idea? It's like, oh my God, this brand new idea. It's inspiring. It's exciting. Whenever you start something new, that's wood energy talking. Because it's like a seed sprouting from earth. Spring is here. Brand new. Excitement, inspiring, growth is coming, value is coming. That's what wood energy is about. Okay, so people who are very creative, very intuitive, heads in the clouds, people like myself, for example, we have a lot of wood energy. No surprise, I was born in the year of the wood rat, 1984, year of the wood rat. I'm full of wood energy. So I'm naturally very creative. I am naturally very intuitive. But most of the time, I like to daydream. My head's in the cloud. So sometimes my family members and close friends have to pull me back down to reality. Right? Otherwise, I'll be like a hot air balloon and I'll just fly all the way up there and not come back down to Mother Earth. So people with a lot of wood energy are less grounded. Isn't that interesting? Now, what comes after wood in the creation cycle of the energy is understanding that what comes after wood is fire. It makes sense because how do you light up fire? Wood, right? Back in the caveman days, how do we light fires up? We light fire up using wood because wood is the first thing that creates fire back in those days. So fire represents summer energy. Now, it's about glowing. It's about shining light on people or on yourself. It's about building connection, engagement. Fire energy is people energy. All right? It's about answering the question of who. So after the what question comes who. Who can help me? Who should be involved? Who do I want in my life? Who should be in my support network? Who do I really want to spend my time with? That's why in the summer, we love going to the beach and we love having a drink, a pint in a beer garden with our friends and family. That's why we love in the summer to have barbecues and have family gathering because summer energy is people energy because it's full of fire energy. Okay? So then what comes after this? You can guess, right? Autumn. So what represents autumn energy? Well, it's earth. And again, it makes sense because after the fire dies, what's left? ashes. Fire burns everything to the ground. Everything becomes earth again. And that's after, when the fire has died down, the temperature has cooled. So autumn energy is about slowing down. It's about grounding yourself. It's about preparation for the winter. It's about harvesting, right? That's why harvest season is in autumn after summer, because it's about preparation for the winter, harvesting, staying grounded, slowing down, and planning for the next season. It's about timing. It's about being sensitive. It's about when and where. It's answering the question of when and where. It's about location. It's about steadiness. And that is why, if you look at anyone in your life who are people who are very grounded, they're very reliable, they're very sensible. Why? Because they plan. They're planners. They slow things down. They look at details. They look at the time. Is it the right time? People with a lot of energy, earth energy, are great traders, by the way. Did you know that? Great traders, like day traders, people who trade on the market, they have a lot, the good ones anyway, the successful ones, they are very grounded people because they are very good at timing the market. They don't react. They just plan, they prepare, they take things slowly, and when the right time comes, they invest. And when the right time is when it's the right time to exit, they exit. No emotion attached. Whereas summer is about emotion. Earth energy is not about emotion. It's about being sensible, being real, being grounded, looking at reality of life. That's earth. Opposite of wood. Wood people have their heads to the clouds. Earth people have their ears to the ground. So as you will guess, what comes after this would be winter, right? Winter energy, which is answering the question of how. Knowing the step-by-step, the implementation, the processes, the specific, the details, the devil's in the detail. Winter energy, metal energy, is about knowing the how. So what do we need to do? After the planning, what is the step-by-step process? Now, winter energy is about doing. It's not about hibernation. It's about doing. It's about taking action. It's about doing, knowing, and implementing on the things that you need to do. It's about cutting to the chase, metal. And what comes after metal then, you would think? Well, in Chinese philosophy, energy-wise, we know is water, which is the representation of spiritual energy. Why? Why is a spiritual question. Why does this place exist? Why am I here? For example. So what is water energy about? Water is about flow. It's about being in a state of flow. It's represent transitioning to a new year, which is spring. It's about intention. It's about purpose. So we come back in full circle here because it actually starts with water. Everything you do in life starts with the water energy, which is your intention. What is your end result? What is your goal? Why do you want it? Have you ever heard of the book Simon Sinek? Start with why? He's right. It starts with why. When you create something, whether it be a business, starting a new relationship, writing a book, whatever it is you're trying to create in life, you have to understand that it starts with the energy of water, which is your intention, your purpose. Why? Because water is a spirit. And water, as you feed the wood, it creates creativity. So here we are, we come back in full circle. And to answer those of you who might be curious, so how does earth create metal and how does metal create water? Well, earth, you mine metal from earth. All right? When earth gets over condensed, it creates metal. And then what happens on metal when you cool, when the metal is so cold in the winter, when it's so cold, what happens? It condenses water vapor into droplets. And that's how it creates water. Just to give you some science here. So when you understand this, you will be able to create flow in your own personal structure, whether it's inside of you or outside of you in your environment. You can create flow structure in the terms of your energy is always flowing. So I'm going to show you this diagram here. This shows you the constructive cycle. Wood creates fire, fire creates earth, earth creates metal, metal creates water, and water creates wood. Okay? But here you will see a star sign. That shows you the destructive cycle, because Chinese people, the ancient Chinese people, know that with every element there is a one that benefits the other. For example, wood always benefits from water, and wood creates more fire, so fire benefits from wood. But there is a destructive cycle where each element sometimes oppose each other as well. So for example, metal, if you imagine a metal axe, what do we do with metal axe? We cut wood down. So wood don't like metal. When you're in the creative process and you're trying to write a book or write a song and you have a writer's block, for some reasons, like you just can't write it, guess what's happening? It's because your brain is asking the question, how? How am I going to write this book? How am I going to write this song? That's the wrong question to ask, because when you ask the question how, you're actually engaging with the metal energy within you and you're cutting the creativity, because how is about processes. How is about doing. It's not about creating. If you want to create, you need to ask what, which means understanding what is the theme here. What is the essence of your writing? What is the message you're trying to convey? That is a very different type of energy. So if you ask how is going to cut the wood down, and you're always going to stay stuck and have this writer's block. That's the reason why. So what's going to help you instead is ask yourself why. Engage with the water energy within you. Ask why you want to write this book in the first place, and then the what. You see? And then you go around full circle. Earth don't like wood, because Earth wants to be grounded. Earth wants to plan. Earth wants to stay real. It doesn't want to ask about the what. It doesn't want to be creative. It doesn't want to be intuitive. It doesn't want to act on instinct. So this is a funny example, by the way. So all spiritual people, like we're talking about monks, people who meditate all day long, they love asking the question why. They love meditating all day long. But they don't do anything. They don't plan. They don't like to engage with people. They don't like people. Because people is about fire. And they don't want to do anything, so they don't want to plan anything. So can you see how interesting the energy feeds off each other, and at the same time, the energy also, different elements of energy, they also destroy one another? So when you understand this, the question is, how can I use this on a day-to-day basis to make sure that I stay in flow? That's what you have to understand. Yeah, energy is always constantly changing. How can you direct the energy in the way where it's flowing through the 5 elements in the constructive cycle, and you stay in flow state so that you can create what you want to create? How can you do that? That's the question. Well, here's the gift. The gift for you all is we have created in Liberate Lifestyle our personal journal. It's like planner. We call it the energy architect, because you are the architect of your own life. You are the energy architect of your own life. This is basically, I used this planner since 2015 to create Limit Break Lifestyle when I was working on a 9-to-5 job. Because if you open this planner up, on the very first page, it tells you Monday. Oh, actually, let me break it down. Every day I focus on one energy. Okay, that's how I do it. Every day I focus on one specific energy only. Because if you think about it, as I was working 9 to 5, I only had maybe 2 to 3 hours every evening coming back from work to actually work on the business. So that's not a lot of time. And there's so many things I had to do, so many aspects of the business I had to create, right? Clients, potential clients, research, market research, creating products, creating training programs, creating our mission statements, etc., etc. There's just so many things, and they all require different energy. And so what I've understood was, by using this structure, I created the perfect ideal week that works for me. Now, I'm going to share with you what I do. I'm not going to say that this is the perfect thing for everybody. I'm just saying maybe you want to try it and it might help, because this definitely helped me. Okay, so if you look on the first page, what I've done in the planner is that Monday, let's start with Friday. Friday, I like to come home because the weekend is coming, right? Friday, I like to come home and I want to plan ahead. I like to plan for the week ahead. So I engage in the earth energy. So I start to slow down. It's the weekend. I'm starting to slow down. I'm preparing. I'm planning. I'm planning for what I'm going to do next week, starting on Monday. Because earth energy gives rise to metal energy. So Monday, I engage with my metal energy, which is doing. So this is when I'm putting all the things in the fridge. All right, this is when I'm doing everything now. This is the admin stuff, the finances, the emails, all the things that I wrote down on the to-do list, things that I don't need to think about. I'm just doing, I'm just implementing. I'm just working on the boring stuff that I don't really enjoy, but I don't have to think. It's a Monday. Just get on with it. Right? That's like putting everything, organizing everything, all of your groceries in the fridge. That's the winter metal energy. And then on Tuesday, after all of the doing, I move to water. I engage in the spirit of my business. So that's the day of meditation for me. That's the day of setting intention, goal setting, planning on that aspect, the big picture stuff. The why. This is when I work on the mission statement, understanding why we do what we do. Why do we help our clients? Why do we love what we do? Because we want to get into the energy of visualizing and understanding the deeper purpose of what we do here. And then on Wednesday, that's creation day for me. That's wood energy, because it's midweek now. And on Wednesday, I feel like, you know what? I'm full of wood energy anyway. So I'm going to use this day to create. So all of the creation is done usually on Wednesday. So I'm talking about product design, training, designing the brochure, graphic design, looking at a different kind of creative activity. I'm planning and creating new training structures, whatever it might be. Okay, writing a book. That's the day I write. I stay in my creative mode on Wednesday and I don't do anything else. I just create. And then on Thursday is people day, because we now transition and move over to the fire energy. So Thursday are usually the evenings where I have meetings or I do delivery. So I train people. I train my students on a Thursday. I have calls on Thursday. I usually go out and do some networking on Thursday. So usually back in those days, I would look at meetup.com or eventbrite.com and I would check out to see if there's any networking event regarding entrepreneurship, personal development. I would just go out on a Thursday and I would just chat to people. That's the goal. It's people energy. And then back to Friday, we plan. So can you see? This works beautifully for me because I'm always in flow. Every single day, I know what I need to focus on. And as you can see, every single day, I'm doing one or two things that moves my vision closer towards reality. It moves me closer towards my goalposts. So the question you might ask yourself then is, well, what do you do on a Saturday and a Sunday? Well, Saturday, I've made these up, by the way. But on Saturday, I like to call it the love energy. So I like to focus that on spending that time with my friends and family. It's a choice day for me. Sometimes I work. Sometimes I might work on one of the things I might be behind on, or I just spend that time with family. And then on Sunday, it's a spiritual day for me. So my mom goes to church. I would usually spend that time on Sunday just chilling. I would meditate sometimes, or I will be reading. I like to read, or I might be learning something new. Right? I'm researching something irrelevant to my business, but usually Sunday is a day for me to consume new knowledge and learn more and grow, so that I can have more to teach you guys. All right. So it's about inspiring myself, and it's a day for me to be grateful, by the way. So Sunday is usually a reminder that, you know what do I need to be grateful for this week? What happened this week that I should be grateful for? So it keeps me grounded, it keeps me humble, it keeps me in a very beautiful state of being. And so that is what I do with this planner. And this is how Limit Break Lifestyle came about, even though it took us 2 years to launch the business. But it works. And not only does it work for the business, it works for my day-to-day life, because now I operate my lifestyle in such a way where I'm always constantly in flow. And the only time when I feel stuck is usually when I'm asking again. I know why I feel stuck, because I'm asking how. I fall into the trap of, well, how am I going to do this? Well, actually, I need to be focusing on the what and the why instead. Does that make sense? So this I'm going to give to you guys as a gift. So somewhere on this website, on this landing page down below, there should be a link where you can download a 7-page version on PDF. So you can print this out for yourself or work on it on yourself. But if you want to have a physical copy of this planner, you can actually, again, on this website somewhere, there is a link where you can go straight to Amazon. Now, we don't make any money selling this, okay? We're not even selling this. It's not for sale. But you can get one printed out from Amazon, because it's what we call a print-on-demand service, right? So every time you buy this from Amazon, I think is around £20 or £25 or something like that. We don't make money, by the way. Amazon makes the money. But that's just the cost of printing the planner if you want a physical copy for yourself. Okay, so I have one for myself, but just to let you know, disclaimer, we don't make any money selling the planners at all. Okay, that's why we give you a 7-page version on the PDF so that I can use that electronically for yourself. And that's the gift. And that is how you can stay in a flow state of being from an energetic point of view, and also stay focused in creating what you want. Now, whether that be a book, a song, or a business, or whatever it is you want to create in life, and that's how you stay in flow. Okay, I hope that helps you all. This is just a very short training video and introduction on energy and the 5 elements. Now, if you want to understand more about these 3 books, well, 4 actually, sorry, 3 books, yeah. If you want to understand more about these 3 books, about these content, let me know, and I will do a more in-depth video on my YouTube channel. But with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed the session. And for those of you who are interested in how I can continue serving you, we have a Limit Break lifestyle community for limit breakers. And every week we talk about something that's going to help you. I pass on to my students and my limit breakers in the community practical tools and lessons on how to stay in flow state. Basically, how do you just get out of your own way and create what you love? How do you get out of your ego and create what you love? And the community helps, because we're all doing this together. If you're interested in the community, let us know. There should be some information on how to join there. There's an application form to fill out, and then fill that out, and then we'll get in touch with you. All right. But otherwise, apart from that, I hope you guys live life with no limits. Stay strong, stay focused, and stay shining brightly. I love you all. This is Uncle Wick signing off.